You doing? I'm good.
Let me grab that real quickly. And then we will get started.
Okay. Glad you're doing that.
Alrighty. Welcome to the Black Owned Elite Podcast, your weekly journey into the world of business, psychology, and Black history from an empowering Black perspective. I'm your host and guide, Dr. Marcia Skinner. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you'll be alerted when we do go live and have beautiful guests on. Today, we are going to be diving into tips for launching a successful event venue with Lorna Dennis Parker. Lorna is a certified event and floral designer and the owner of LD Parker Event Designs based in Charlotte, North Carolina. She's Preston Bailey's protege and was recognized by Intrigue Floral Awards in 2019, 21, and 22. Her work has graced publications like Bee Collective, Munaluchi, and Event Therapy, just to name a few. Lorna also founded the Event Professionals Marketplace, Project Rise, which aims to educate, inspire, and foster industry collaboration and support between industry professionals. She's also the co-author of Anthology Bling, The Purpose, Power, and Pursuit of Women with Blind Faith. In 2022, she expanded her brand to include the Curated Collection Rentals, which is luxury event rentals, as well as opening her own venue, the venue at 14th and Pine, located in Texarkana, Texas. Lorna, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. I'm so honored to be here. I'm really glad. It's good to sit here and chat with you.
Awesome. Well, today we are talking about opening your own venue. This is actually something I want to do eventually. It's in, the 10-year plan. And I know a lot of people are wanting to open venues as well. So you were doing so much. You're so accomplished. What made you say, let me open a venue too?
Well, let me tell you, this came in a kind of indirect way. I opened the event rental space first, and I got into that because I do a lot of importing for my group members in Event Professionals Marketplace. So I bring in the event furnishings, and my personality is one where I see something, and if I love it, I'll pick it up. Or if there's a minimum order quantity and say, like, the members only wanted 3, but you got to buy 5 to get them, I would get those. And so I ended up with all of this inventory and decided, I need to open up an event, a luxury event rental space in Texarkana, because that's actually my hometown. That's where Yes, and they didn't have that. They don't have access to that. The rental company there does heavy equipment, and they have a few bridal things, but it's more your barrels and, a few chairs and those sorts of things. And so I decided I would do that. Well, the space that I obtained, I ended up having this huge dead space in the middle. And I was just talking to a friend of mine there, and she was like, you got to do something with this space. And we began to sit down and brainstorm about it. And as I thought about it, I was like, this is perfect for a little boutique event venue space. And so that's actually how I got into the event venue side of things. It was just because I wasn't going to leave any money on the table, and because it was the perfect size for the direction I'm going, which is micro weddings.
Okay. And so how did you start the whole process? I know you had the furniture and things like that, but how did you start the actual process?
Well, the building, and let me be transparent about this. I did this maybe not in ideal order. So the purpose of me sharing this journey with you guys today is to kind of shed some light on that because there are things that I did that normally a person shouldn't do when opening a venue in the order that I did them. They should do them, but not in the order in which I did them. So
Okay.
uh, I found the space, and the space was for the rentals, then realized, I've got a lot of extra space here that could be making some money. So, what can we do? Normally, you would do a lot of research into further down the line, but I didn't do any of the market analysis. I didn't do any of the things because for me, it kind of was just an additive. It was an extra was a bonus. And my thought initially was, I got the rentals, so that is just icing on the cake. And now the event venue does better than the rental side of things. So, it wasn't the icing on the cake. It is the doggone cake. So, but if you find the space, definitely you want to do some research. If you're a layperson, you're looking to open a venue, you're gonna want to do some market analysis. You're gonna want to look for some spaces that you don't have to do too much work to. You're going to want to see about the location of those things. You're going to want to check zoning, and there's those are things we'll delve into later in the conversation as well, how they can affect you. But those are the things you want to do when you find your space. You'll want to get whatever licenses and those things that you need to do. You have to come up with a name. You have to decide how the space is going to be registered. Are you going to be an LLC? Do you want to start as an S corp? I definitely would not recommend, if you're going to have a venue, being a sole prop, because for insurance purposes and all sorts of other things, you definitely don't want to have the liability of a venue where somebody could trip and fall, where anything could happen to people, and not being able to insure it properly and not being able to protect your assets. So that, I would think, would be kind of your second step once you know you've got a space and once you know you're going to open this venue. And then you come to your design, and you kind of build it out from there. Now, I think one of the necessary steps that comes before that is having a little bit of money. But I know, we'll probably talk about funding deeper in the interview, so I don't want to do too much right there.
Okay. How did you determine what type of venue? Because there's the blank slate ones, there's the all inclusive, there's the we'll give you a few things, but you bring in the rest. Like when you were doing, I know you already had the furniture rental, so obviously you're going to
Yeah.
offer that, right? But is that
Right.
something that comes already included, or is it blank slate? And if you want to use my rentals, you can, but you could bring in stuff as well.
Well, we have an open vendor policy. Believe it or not, the rentals we do have, but because we're in a unique situation where there's really not any competition with those rentals, because the things we offer, nobody else in that city offers. So we have an open vendor policy, which makes it easier to rent. So we do rent time and space, but we do have certain things that come with our venue. We offer five 6-foot round tables, and we offer 40 chairs. So that's standard, plus two 6-foot banquet tables for food and those sorts of things. Now, we offer the venues, I'm sorry, we offer the rentals as an upgrade if they want our specialty chairs, something different. If they want our specialty tables, the draw for us is those things are in house. So when they come in, even if they're bringing their own designer, if
Mhm.
they're bringing their own caterer or whatever the case may be, we can have those items out and set up and ready for them to proceed with their decor. If they want to hire us, because we do have, I mean, I'm an event designer, so it's kind of easy, and I do flowers there. It's kind of easy to say, hey, we want a full package. So we offer three levels. It is time and space only. It
Mhm.
is time and space plus rentals are completely done for you. But it's a boutique venue, so there's only so many for our occupancy load. There's only so many people that can be there. So we specialize in certain types of events that normally run smaller. Those would be your micro weddings, bridal showers, baby showers, and things of that nature.
I totally understand what you're saying because I don't know if there was a big push towards like smaller venues or just when we were looking into opening our venue, that's the content that I was finding, exactly what you're saying for the smaller events, not the 10,000 square feet elaborate things, but the smaller ones. And I know you said something previously about zoning. So you said you got the space originally just for the rentals, right? And then you
Right.
wanted to now use it for actual events. Was it easy to convert the purpose? What was the story behind how you
Well,
switched purposes basically?
let me tell you, I got it for the rentals, and I was just going to store those things there, and then we would transport them. So, no big deal. The building can just be what the building is. Then I decided I would do the venue. But the thing that was the oops pal surprise for me, and this is why I said you don't do the things in the order that I do, you do your research. You got to figure out how stuff is zoned. So you'll know if you can even be there or if you have to apply for a change of zoning, which I did have to do. But it wasn't because the building wasn't in a commercial space. It's because they have proposed development, which initially chapped me and irked me. I was like, oh my gosh, now I got to pay this fee. Now I got to pay that fee. Now I got to do all of these things. But what is happening is it is becoming a gentrified area, and so much more traffic is coming there. They're building this whole school complex, which is just maybe 2 blocks down from me. And everything is getting a facelift. And I didn't know that. Now, this worked out in my favor, but it could easily work out in the opposition if you don't do that research first. Because if you apply for a zoning change and you're denied it and you've already signed the lease, you got to pay that lease out because you
Mm.
what you want to open there if they don't grant you the change of zoning. In my case, they wanted to grant me the change of zone, okay, because of the area is being, getting a facelift, and they're actually extending the downtown boundaries. So that opened us up to a whole lot of other things, grants and other opportunities. So it turned out to be an amazing blessing,
Oh
which I
yes.
identified as a curse.
Really quickly, Tawanda says hi. So hey Tawanda.
Oh,
And then
Tawanda.
so does Maddie. Hey Maddie.
Hi, Maddie.
So, and then also the design champs is saying we are giving out some great information already because that is true. A lot of people don't think like when you're going to look, the zoning is huge, a huge part of it. Did you have to go to like the city hall meetings and all that good stuff for the changes? Because I researched that
Yeah,
as well, and people were saying you need to go to the meeting and
it
appeal to the people and all of this.
yes, it delayed our opening by months and months because the initial meeting is for the zoning commission.
Hmm.
Then there's a meeting with the city council. Mind you, the citizens get to come and they get to complain about everything, even though they don't know you. They don't know what kind of business you're going to run. They don't know your ethics or your morals. They don't know anything. But some people just don't want change. They don't want anything different. So they post these signs on your property so that everybody passing can see it. They send letters out and they notify the citizens, which is only fair. I didn't have a problem with that, because I can pretty much express myself and let people know what it is that I intend to do. But it's kind of nerve wracking because if they say no, the power is not in your hands. So you can't just show up at a space and say, "Oh, this is gorgeous. I can do this, this, and this, and we're in business." Because no, ma'am, no, sir, you are not.
Oh my goodness. I know you said, oh, you need more than just commercial, and Maddie is asking specifically what type of zoning then do you need for a venue if it's not just commercial zoning?
Well, for me, that was specific to me because they are doing the changes in the area. I had to get a proposed development zoning as well. So it's commercial and proposed development. And I found out quickly why. And let me tell you, because now that they're changing everything, they're upgrading the roads, they're doing all the things. I now need a new parking lot. So if I
Mm.
didn't have a proposed development, then when they hit me with this little, oh, you got to get a site plan now, hire your engineering company because you need X amount of more parking spaces. Thank God we have the land for it. And so that's what my zoning thing was.
Okay, so really that, Maddie, I think is going to really depend on your particular municipality. But I do know for events where you're having people come, go, and really, 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 if you're serving alcohol, it's a whole nother battle of wax, right?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. We happen to be located. It's commercial already because they had done it because it's around the corner from a newly opened bar and grill, and they have bands and those sorts of things at night, which helped us because the complaints from one of the ladies who's right behind us is, we have to sleep. Well, you might not already be sleeping because you have this whole thing going on here. And that's kind of what the city council said. Listen, it's already zoned, it's not going to change. We just have to add a proposed development to it. And she's asking to be included in that zoning. So, yeah. And also know what you're up against when you're going. Know the different zonings. There are books and ordinances in every city. You can find out how many parking spaces you need. You can find out what the zoning requirements are. You can find out what hours they will likely give you that you can operate because they control that as well. So if they tell you that you got to be shut down at 11 or midnight, that's what it is. That's what it is. And so you can't just make in your mind what you want it to be. I'm going to have weddings. They can go till 2 a.m. or they can go till 1. No, all of these things have to be approved by your city and your local government there.
Yeah, that's very true. So, Maddie, you have to go to wherever you actually live and look up the zoning for that particular place. And I do remember too, like you were saying, like square footage and parking spaces is a thing as well. So when you're looking for venues, you have to look at that parking lot like, hmm. And then if
Yes,
it's in a plaza and stuff, they divide the parking lots per the business, right? Per each business.
yes,
So even if you
yes.
think, oh, it's a huge parking lot, there's 20 businesses in here, you only have two, so that's not gonna work either.
It's not going to work unless they you have an agreement with your neighbors that after certain hours, if they're not open, you are able to lease their spots.
Oh, I
Then
love
you might
that.
be able to take. But that's a tip for those who want to go because a lot of people are looking in shopping plazas and you're thinking, oh, all of this parking is mine. No, because you would keep your neighbors from having business. The fellow business owners in there and their customers having to park long distances if you have day events and those sorts of things. But if most of your events are in the evening, then you can work that out. And that's just building relationships and being fair with the people around you, just like you would want them to be with you.
Awesome. Awesome. I love that. I love that idea. And then anything else, like when people are looking, okay, parking, obviously, check the zoning. Anything else when people are looking for a venue space that they really need to keep in mind that the lay person might not really think about?
You need to check everything in the building with regards to appliances, your air conditioning, okay? Because you could have to replace that. And that is an expense when you get into your renovations that you don't plan for because you think it's going to work, the air conditioning and the heating. Check and see what the utilities run. You want to know what the average is there. You need to know because this it's not just your lease that you're paying when you go into a space. Even if you build it from the ground up, it's not just the mortgage that you're paying. You have to consider all the rest of those bills. You have to consider your insurance. You have to consider so many things, your grounds upkeep. What are the requirements there? And so I tell everybody check the building from top to bottom, determine what renovations that you're going to have to make. If you're leasing your spot, you need to work that out with the landlord ahead of time so that it's part of your lease. Because otherwise, you'll be making changes that you need at your expense, still paying a mortgage when you could have worked out however much I invest into upgrading your building, then we can offset my lease by this amount of money or for this amount of time for the money that I'm putting into that. So people don't think of that. They just think, oh, I'm going in and I'm going to change everything, when you're really kind of shooting yourself in the foot if you go about it that way.
Mm, okay. Whew, there is a lot to think about. Justin said, okay, LOL. Yeah, that is a lot. That's a lot. And then
It
Nadia
is a
is
lot.
saying, what is the best type of lease to look for? Because I know there is a couple of different types of leases as well. She's saying the
Right.
triple N seems kind of expensive.
Well, this is the thing. You can sometimes find people that'll do month to month leasing, but it's rare. It's rare. They're not normally willing to do that, and not for this type of business anyway, not commercially. Typically, you're going to end up with a lease of at least a year. So you got to be prepared for that going in, and you got to have a game plan for it. Meaning, you don't wait until you go in and you sign your lease to begin advertising for what it is you're trying to do. You don't wait until your renovations are done to say, women have a grand opening. Take it from someone who did not follow those rules. Uh, and then instead, for like about a month and some change, like, okay, now how am I going to let the people know about me?
Mhm.
You begin to send out emails to visit other businesses that complement your business. You do
Mhm.
those sorts of things. You're going to have to sign that year lease, at least a year. Some of them are 2 years.
Yeah.
So you know
Yeah.
that ahead of time. So if you don't, or you don't think you can generate, don't have, or you don't think you can generate the income for that, it's something to think about.
Mhm.
That's a really big financial commitment when it comes to having a venue. And you have to pay all of these other things, all of your bills, your insurance, just to be covered to operate there. So you have to consider that when you're going into it to determine, is it going to be something that's worth it? People will tell you all the time, oh, I'm an expert. All you got to do is this. And you run in and you get the lease, and boom, you're having a party. Well, how are you having a party if nobody knows you're a venue now? How
Mhm.
have you been marketing? So if you go out to businesses that complement yours, like I started with my bakers, the other florists in the area, other event designers. And what I did to increase my traffic, with addition, in addition to making, well, we'll talk about Google, we'll talk about all of the other softwares that you can use,
Mhm.
but I made friends and I said, hey, event designers in the area, I am not your competition. I'm not coming here to do event design. Okay. I want to partner with you. So for your clients, show them our venue.
Mhm.
We offer affiliate agreements. So if you bring your clients here and they love it and they book, for me, you brought me business. Let us give you 5 or 10% of whatever the rental is.
Okay.
But all you have to do is factor that into your contract and your pricing for your client.
Exactly.
And then you have business coming in. You begin to tell them that you're going to open this business beforehand. Cake bakers, we partner with those. You know what I do? Can you make me a beautiful dummy cake and let me display it? So that when we have brides that come in and they see this beautiful cake and they inquire, I have your card, I have your information. This is one of our vendor partners. This is how you begin to build those relationships in the community. We also visited, it seems a little dark, but funeral homes. There are
Mhm.
so many that are looking for smaller spaces for repast dinners,
Mm.
different bridal boutiques, and those sorts of things. Are you interested in a pop-up shop? This is how we keep things kind of fresh and new. Trunk show, what do you have new? Love to partner with you and then give something back to the community that you're in. You can't go in and make allies if you're not spending your money in the community that you expect to support you financially. Okay? So
True.
if I buy cakes, I'm going to buy it from a local vendor. If I'm buying my flowers, sometimes it might be a little bit more expensive, but I frequent them at least for some of my stuff so that I
Mhm.
can begin to build the relationships for the businesses that are there. My insurance is through a local company. you know, and well, it's through a bigger insurance group, but I was able to go and say, "Oh, what are you going to do?" Well, guess what? We have ladies, and we'd love to have lunch and learns there. We don't want to sit in a restaurant and discuss our personal business and all of that to do with the company. So this is how it's very reciprocal. And then we also do a coat drive, which my family has done for years, but we are allowing them to come and sort the coats there. And if when there's coats left over for families that need them, that have more, they can, more of a need, they can come and pick those coats up there. And we do something called Saturday's Child in the community as a give back, which I really started here in Charlotte, but it's for kids that are in foster homes, orphanages, and those sorts of things. And we call it Saturday's Child because everybody who had great parents and had, you look back on your childhood fondly, you know that you had a birthday party. I don't care if it's just your cousins and a couple of hats and those blowers that made a lot of noise and a cake. On this Saturday, after or before your birthday, there was going to be something that celebrated you to let you know that you mattered. And some of these children have never had a celebration. So we do a
That's true.
unisex sort of thing, and we invite those children out, and there's a celebration for them, and they are celebrated, and it's like, oh my God, means the world to me. So that gets information out about your venue without you pushing it in people's faces like, oh, come buy from me, come buy from me, come buy from me. Let me give something back. And then people say, well, where are they having this event? Well, what is this place? Oh, I never heard of it. Oh, they offer this, they offer that. Direct marketing is the best form.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Um, and Tawanda is saying rehearsal dinners are good too.
Oh, yes, I forgot to say that. Yes, we definitely do rehearsal dinners, birthday dinners for folks, and we call it the grown and sexy crowd, and they are interested in a nice, kind of secluded and safe environment that they control. Who's in and out? They can have dinner and dancing and those sorts of things, and yeah, it's really great. Rehearsal dinners are great.
And then red carpet events planning is loving, loving all your tips.
Thank you, thank you.
Did we? Let
This is my life.
me.
This is life experience here.
Exactly. And that's the thing. Like, you got to go to people who are living it because you're going to get stuff from people who are living the life versus
Right,
somebody who read a thing and hasn't really done it, right? And then, did we
right.
answer Maddie's question about the types of leaves? Is the one that includes all your utilities and stuff best? Or what are the different types of leases if you know the ones and
It
which one is better?
Yeah, well, I might not know them all because I'm not a realtor. I can only tell you that mine does not include the utilities. And to have that type of lease, in my mind, would depend on how much are they including for your utilities. It could be a benefit, it could be a detriment. Likely, they're going to take the average of whomever the previous client was. If the previous client was there every day, using electricity and you're only going to be there on weekends,
Mm.
you might not be benefiting from taking the average of the previous client's utilities, which is all that landlord has to go on, because utilities they peak in the summertime, they spike, especially electricity, but in the winter it can be very low. Some buildings may have gas, they may not have gas. It normally the leases for commercial properties will come with your water included. That's something that you typically don't pay for, but that electricity normally, as far as I know, is yours, and ours is ours to pay. And so we are a little bit more mindful of how we run things. But there are companies that say that they include the electricity and all of the things. And if you think that that average is going to benefit you, which goes back to research, then go that route. But do your research because that's the only way you're going to know.
Okay. And then Justin is asking, I guess I should move this down so it's not blocking your name. Is asking how many events would make it a great year. And I guess how do you determine that? Because that's going to be different from everybody depending on what your lease is and what you
Right.
charge. But
So this is the thing. I started this journey alone.
Mhm.
And when I realized just how ignorant I was, and I say this about myself because ignorant just means lack of knowledge. I did not know a lot of things about having a venue. It sounded phenomenal. We can just There's an extra stream of income. It's beautiful. Well, I ended up working with an event venue consultant.
Mm,
She's a venue consultant that has four venues, and they are all profitable, rocking and rolling. And she taught me so many things I never would have thought of. And one of those things is what makes it a great year is if you have enough events, whatever the source of those are, whether it's weddings or birthday parties, kids parties, whatever they are, that your bills are covered every month. And in order
mhm,
to figure out what that amount is, your break even amount, there are so many factors that need to go into it. You need to include your mortgage. You need to include a certain percentage of your insurance, which is a 12th because you divide it into a 12-month period. You need to average those utility bills. Okay, now we're back around to that. You take your highest amount, not your lowest amount. Don't try to make it cute and feel good. Go with the gut wrenching. It could be $500 a month summer. Okay,
mhm,
average that amount in. Average the amount in of the labor that you're going to have to include. For me, service fees for delivery, for rentals, but also when I'm here, because I'm in Charlotte and my venue's in Texas, I have to have an assistant that goes out. How much am I paying her per hour? What is the average time to show the venue? How many showings am I going to do? Or am I going to do group showings and say, hey, everybody come on this day because this is the day, the second Saturday of the month. You can see our venue. We give you a few little snacks, like things, come in and do like an open house. Is it cheaper for me to pay her 4 hours for that day or send her out multiple times? All of these things factor into it. So once your bills are paid, that's the only time you can then begin to look at your earnings as any sort of profit. You know what I'm saying? So if your bills are average, and once you average everything, are let's say estimated at 3,500, then you got to bring in enough events to cover that 3,500. Then anything after that will be considered a profit, but you still got to put money to the side because there's those things called taxes. Okay, they're coming for you. And so it depends on if you're selling your space by the hour, if you have packages and all of those things, and then what the add-ons are, and there's no way to know it. So my advice to anybody is cover your bill for the month, and if you can make, $3,000 over that, that's a great start for your first year every month. So three times 12, and some people say, well, that's not any money, but that's your free and clear money. And then you build and then you build on it. And it's likely not just going to be $3,000. That's just me being conservative here, but just to paint an accurate picture of what the event venue industry looks like. It's not all peaches and cream. They'll get on, webinars and lives, and they'll tell you, oh, and in your event space, you can make six figures, and it's very easy to do. All you have to do is have average $3,000 a weekend, and if you do $3,000 a weekend, then that's $12,000 a month. First of all, it is difficult to stack more than one event in a venue in a day, especially if it's a wedding. You can forget
mhm,
about it because people aren't going to want that venue for just six. And who's going to take the very early morning wedding? That's sometimes difficult to do. You can offer a decreased rate. You can do a Saturday or and a Sunday rate, but all of these things factor into it. And the area that you're in, while that may be very popular in Philly and New York, and it may work out because they're conditioned to that. In my little town in Texas, these people are like, what? That is never going to work. So, if you can make a profit your first year, you are so winning. You are so winning. And then as you learn the game, it becomes muscle memory for you. And then you'll begin to build larger and larger profits because you'll begin to find more creative ways to advertise your space. More people will begin to find out about you. And before you know it, you're not even working. They're just coming to you for the rentals.
mhm, mhm. Yeah, once you build those relationships, get the name out there and all that good stuff. And Phil is kind of asking what you were just saying. What is the target, or I guess, what would be your ideal profit margin for your business?
Oh, I would love for my business to make $120,000, $150,000. But realistically, for my market, if we clear 100 grand a year, that's going to be a beautiful addition to, to our income. Yeah, but like I said, markets are different. In New York, they're probably making 200 grand,
Mhm.
plus easily. So it depends on your market. But for me, I would love for that to be, that's a good number for me.
Mhm. Yeah, I'm sure like in the bigger cities, but then the rent is going to be higher too, but then the population is going to be more as well. So it really probably depends on how good of a marketer you are and like how much you're beating the bushes, right? And being creative.
Right.
I'm still loving that advice you gave about going to all the bakers, going to all the adjacent type businesses and putting it out there, suggesting, oh, you want Sunday? You want a church to rent Sunday morning? Like, great, great advice. I love
Listen,
that.
my next event is, and churches are phenomenal when they want to rent your space on a regular basis for their services. But I have a women's church conference. That's our next event in the venue. And they are so easy to work with. They are not there all night. You don't have to pay staff to stay with them. They are going to clean up that space and get right on out of there. And if you give your clients great customer service. That is how you set yourself apart. Find out, read reviews, figure out what the complaints are in other areas. And you don't want to, add to, I guess you would call them your competitors. I don't really believe in that, but you don't want to add to what they're going through with those reviews, but you do want to pay attention to what people are looking for. Be the opposite, give them that. That's what has set me apart because I've gone the extra mile for clients, You while you're trying to get your bag full, you got to be careful that you're not chasing off people that are putting pennies in your basket, running after people that are putting dollars, because all of that adds up and it matters. And everybody's story is important to them. They matter. Everybody's event is important to them. And I treat everybody the same with the same amount of professionalism, encouragement. I'll do for them, just anything that I can. I don't give away everything, but sometimes you do. You have to give a little bit to get a little bit. And this is why building relationships is important, because I have event designers in the area that'll say, hey, I want to bring my client by. They're not doing that with other venues. Why? Because there's no benefit to them.
Mm.
Doesn't matter, but because they have an affiliate agreement with them, and I've told them, when you bring me business, then I'm going to bless your business. We all grow. It makes me grow at a little slower rate, but you know what it does? It ensures consistency.
Yes,
So I love that.
yes. Red Carpet Event Planning is asking, do you consider partnerships or solo ownership when considering this line of business? I
Well,
guess maybe what would be drawbacks of doing solo versus partner?
I'm going to tell you right now, I'm a solo type of girl. I want to run my business the way that I want to run my business. Okay. I do. And I have a certain set of morals and ethics that I want to adhere to. I have no way of guaranteeing if I partner, because see, this is the thing. Even in friendships, it could be your best friend in the whole wide world, but money changes things.
It's true.
Business changes things. It is so difficult to have this. It's difficult to have anything more than a single member LLC. The joint and the partnerships, those are hard to have. You have people that lose relationships over business ventures. So this is just a personal opinion. While it may be financially easier for you, when it comes down to making decisions, it's always easier if it's one person. It's always easier if it's just singular. That's my opinion. But now there are people that may have somebody that they can work with perfectly well and say, hey, we'll work it out. Maybe there's another business. But for me, if I'm going to go into a venture like this and I need extra capital, I'm looking for ways within that business, more creative ways to bring in that extra capital, like leasing my kitchen maybe to a commercial baker, or leasing my kitchen to a food prep, an organization that needs it for food prep. I'm still in control of my lease and I get to make my decisions like I want to about how I operate the business. I get to decide if I want to set the air on 74 or 77. There's no, you know, there's no, I mean, I get to decide that, but I can say, hey, there's office space available for having client meetings if you want it, and that's just, that offsets what I would be getting from having a business partner, but helps me and allows me to maintain the control in my business. So there's a lot of things that you can do as opposed to giving away 50% ownership of your company.
Mhm. Absolutely. Absolutely. Tawanda says, solo, baby.
Absolutely. You know it, Tawanda.
And then Destiny Rice is saying, great information. Do you market at bridal fairs? If so, do you get a lot of business doing that, basically?
I have done one bridal show. I
Hmm.
did not get a lot of business because, once again, I'm niched. And a lot of meaning, what I mean by niched is micro. So the space that I have can hold 75 persons or less. 75 is a nice standing situation, but 60 comfortably seated to give them a dance floor. So micro weddings are my jam, you know?
Hmm.
And it's mindset in different communities. They I'm of the mind, once again, this is personal, that you entertain your guest well. So if you can do a 50-person wedding and have all the bells and whistles and it's absolutely amazing, it's something to consider as opposed to trying to have a mediocre gathering for 120 people. So the advice I always give is, if they're on your guest list on a random Tuesday, would you take them out and spend $200 on them?
Mm.
Would you wine them and dine them, give them dinner, drinks, pay their way into whatever spot you're going to go party or whatever the case, because that is essentially what you're doing, you know. So I'm kind of niche down, and that makes a difference. So bridal shows aren't really, my audience is not really there. I just don't think. But I still, because I'm part of the local community,
Mhm.
I do go and make a showing because it helps me on the rental side of things for people to see this beautiful setup, because people are visual people and it makes them ask questions. And so then, if somebody they know is doing something micro or they need rentals for another type of event that's not a wedding, I'm still top of mind. So I get more rental, I guess is the answer to the question, than actual wedding business from that.
And the Design Champs is asking, do you want a bigger venue in the future?
I don't know. I don't know. I'm kind of falling in love with where I am and what's going on. I am able to give our clients a much more personal experience because there's less guests. I can, because it's less guests, it is less traffic,
Mhm.
mind you. Let's say that if I had a bigger venue, then there would be probably larger quinceañeras. There would be a lot of things, and I do get smaller ones, but I prefer that because I'm able to oversee the upkeep of the property. And I have a little guy who's a puppy here, and he interrupts everything with a bark. And so I'm hoping that he's not going to do that. My apologies if he does, but
You're
um,
fine.
it is less traffic, but they return. So it offsets it with the money, meaning, oh, I had my birthday there, so I'm bringing my mom for her birthday here, or I'm bringing
Mm-hmm.
our aunt for her birthday dinner here, and it just feels much more personal. And then also, I am getting on up there in age. I just celebrated my 59th birthday, so taking on more responsibility is really not something that I'm looking at currently, but who knows how, however Holy Spirit leads. that's where I'll follow. And if it's to a larger venue, then I'll do that. But having this smaller one under my belt and knowing all the ins and outs and getting my standard operating procedures down and all of my processes would definitely set me up for success in that business.
And Destiny is asking a very similar question. If you had the opportunity to rewind time, go back and do it over again, and of course, do it in the order you said you should be doing it in, would you get a larger venue?
I'm a really funny person. And it just comes from my belief system, my spirituality, and having a heart of service. I love serving the audience that I have now. I love providing a space, for folks that is affordable for them. I don't know that I would get a larger venue. Perhaps I would do something a little different, but I don't know about the size. Like I said, I've kind of fallen in love with where I am. And for me right now, because I'm nearing the end of my career, this is what we'll do for retirement. So it doesn't, I'm looking to do a lot less instead of a lot more. And this is to supplement what we already have. So I'm in a little different position, but for the person looking to open it, definitely consider the size. And unless you want to do small events all the time, consider your square footage, look at the occupancy load of that space, and know how many guests you have because most weddings are going to be 100 to 150 people,
Yeah,
and that's considered small in the wedding world.
yeah, that's very true. Um, And is there, I've always wondered this, and as a planner, I'm sure you know, like, is there a formula to figure that out? Because, the 52-inch rounds, the 42, 48, I don't know, the size of the tables, is there a way to figure out how many square feet you need for 150 seated?
Well, let me tell you why that's kind of tricky too, because when you get your zoning and your inspections and your occupancy load, they're going to determine how much
Mm,
and how many people you can put in that building. And I'm sure there are a number of factors, which I'm very transparent. I don't know all of the formula that they use to determine that, but they're going to determine that. So I would say if you want to hold 150 person weddings, then you're going to be looking for what is my I'm trying to think what my square footage is in the space that I have. It's like 2,000 square feet, maybe at least 4,000 and above. You're gonna
mm.
have to do that. 4,000, 5,000 square feet. Hmm.
4 and 5,000. And red carpet planning, I did see you're skipping a little ahead, but we can skip ahead and answer her question next. I know you said that you live in North Carolina, right? But your
Hmm.
venue is in Texas. So she's asking a question kind of adjacent to one I had. How do you go about finding and researching the event venue consultants, the people who you are trusting to open, you are trusting to leave with your clients, book? Like, how do you find those people?
Well, I look for folks that have successful businesses in the area. My people that work for me or work with me, because I always say we work together to make things work. um, they have their own businesses, they have their own planning services. And so we were able to sit down and have conversations and come to an agreement of, okay, I can go over and I can open up and I can do the tour because
Mhm.
they're looking for extra income. And so for me, it's always been somebody that has a business in the area and knows the event business, and they can go in and do that. And I also have family in the area. So that's how I make that work for me. I have family and I have a sister-in-law, and she wanted to have something to do while the kids are at school and she can do the tours and those sorts of things. But you can't always depend on family unless you're paying them. So my advice to you is figure out who it is that you can pay and make sure that they're responsible. Typically, seniors, older ladies, that's my jam. Why? Because they are normally very responsible. They're very timely. They take great detail information, and and so those are the people that I use. That and it works out very nicely for me.
Awesome. Awesome. I love everybody and all their questions. If you have questions, feel free to drop it in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. So every Wedding Wednesday, we're going to have a different wedding event professional on, and you can come and pick their brain and learn from this lived experience. So I
Tell me
saw,
about it.
yeah, I saw on your Instagram where you were going through the renovation process before your opening, right? Because event you bought it to store furniture, and then you had to make it
Right.
pretty. So give us some insight on that reno process, and was there anything surprising that you didn't know about, or any craziness that happened during that process?
There were so many surprises. Like, I'm surprised my money keeps walking out the door. The thing you need to do, and I'll tell everybody this, have at least, if you're going to get your funding, you qualify for funding, get you at least 10 to 12 months of your lease that you
Okay.
can set aside, and at least, I would say, 15 to 20 grand, depending on how many renovations you need to make. I did this from our personal funds. I did not get other people's money, which is advised. Get you a loan. Okay, don't wipe your savings out, and then now you're stressed. I happen to be blessed because my husband takes care of all of our personal finances, and so his job, covers all of those things. So that took a load off me. But I can only imagine if I were in this position and I did not have that little safety net, I would have pulled all of this hair, all this bun, everything would just be gone. I would, and so, yeah, I was surprised. First of all, there is a lack of reputable contractors in this world right now, and everybody that tells you that they can do a thing can't do a thing, but they're looking to get money like everybody else. You better vet them well. Okay? And then there's the finding the balance of the person that's amazing at doing a job, but also does it for a fair price and is not ripping everybody off in that way. And I'm not saying all contractors are a rip off. That's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that I ran into a few that were, and we changed contractors 3 times during the rental process and finally found a
Mm.
guy that was good. Oh, yeah, the first one took our money, and then he ended up, because he had warrants, getting picked up and he went to jail. Imagine that. Okay. So he's in jail. What are you going to do? He's gone, right? So then we find number two. Yeah, I know how to do it. And I wanted a knockdown texture on the walls. Well, the knockdown texture ended up on the windows. It ended up everywhere. And he had no idea what he was doing. He was trying to YouTube stuff and figure it out. And yeah, a scandal. Okay. And finally, we found the third guy, and he was really good with everything that he did. And there's a point when you're just like, I just don't have it anymore. I can't take another minute. But then something beautiful happens in your space and you say, this is ours. Look at, we got our painting done. The walls look great now. They redid our ceiling and smoothed it out, and removed drop tiles and that sort of thing. And when that
Mhm.
good, and then the spotlights went in, and then the chandeliers, and finally the floors, and I was like, oh, okay, now I'm knee deep and I'm all in now because I got to see it. We're creatives. We're about production. We love the production, but we got to get to that finished
Finish.
product.
Yes, yes.
And I did, and the doors. I mean, there are days, honestly, that I will go through there and I'll just pray and thank God for that space. And I just want to sit there. Sometimes I don't have anything. I don't have anything, but when I get there, I just want to sit in it because
Hmm.
it's done, and it was such a journey. So you've got to vet your professionals. Make sure you get other references from other folks in the area that they have done work for. Make sure, if you can, to find out if they don't have warrants, they're not going to go to jail after they get your money. um, just and also be wise in what you choose. This is another place I went wrong, and I love to share this because I want people to know.
Mhm.
I chose things like I was choosing them for my house. So the
Oh.
flooring that I have is gorgeous. It's
Mhm.
absolutely amazing. But I paid too much for it. It's a venue. Remember that. This is not what you want, something that's going to last and is going to take the wear and tear of the traffic that you're going to have and give you a look. Always tell people make sure you're creating a neutral palette that people can come and bring their vision in. It's not your house. You're not supposed to decorate it like you would your house. You want something neutral that people can come in and say, I can transform this space. They need to be able to see themselves in the space and what they want to bring forth. And so you definitely want your paint to be neutral. I would suggest a gray, not a white, your lighter shades of gray, because they don't show every little stain. Um, Lighter to mid floors are good. You don't want anything too dark because then that just it makes your space look smaller. You want to present something that's light and airy if you can.
Mhm.
And you also, with selecting what you're going to do your remodel with, be sure you're getting something that makes financial sense. Don't go get the most expensive floor. I pay. That's one of the things I regret. I paid way too much for our floor. Now we have a lifetime guarantee, but how much longer is my lifetime? That's the piece I didn't consider. You know what I'm saying? So likely our children will benefit from that, but that's only if they choose to continue to operate a venue. What if they don't? So I could have saved a ton of money. Refurbish what you can. I almost tore out all of the cabinets and I was like, I need new vanities. I need because when it's your project, it's your baby, you're like, yeah, bathrooms matter to me. And they do. I love a good bathroom. If I can't use the bathroom, I can't stay at your house. I'm that type of girl. So I want a good space. I want the ladies to feel comfortable. And that was my goal. And so I was about to rip out everything, and then I did some research with a friend of mine in the area, and she's like, "Oh, the kind of cabinets you have, they're making a comeback. It's people want that vintage look." And so we ended up being able to paint those, get new hardware, and put new marble countertops on. They look amazing, and that saved me about probably 1,500 to 2,000 per bathroom.
Mhm.
So those sorts of things make a difference when you're doing your renos. Just know who you're working with. Always be a part of it. Never just give somebody your money and say, "Hey, go do it." Do your research. Know how much things cost. Pay attention to your receipts with contractors. You're going to have to if you're buying the goods and paying them for the labor, which is a good way to go. You know, but it just depends on the type of person you are. I'm a person that likes, if I can get I want to know where the stone quarry is. I want to look at the countertop. I want to see. I don't want anybody to pick it for me or tell me. I had to have my hands in it. And some people are not that way. There's like, let me just hire you. I'm going to tell you what I want. This is a look. You finish it, and then we move in. I picked my own chandeliers. I picked my cabinet handles. I picked the countertops. I did all of that stuff myself. And so we were able to find a guy that was really good with it and negotiate. Oh, yeah, this is important.
Mhm.
Do not negotiate with a contractor by the hour. Their hours can be what they want them to be. Do it by the job.
Job. Mhm.
So much money. It really did.
Awesome. And Phil is asking for someone who wants to get into the business, what do you believe the total startup amount is? I know that probably is going to vary based on the lease, right? But I know you were saying have 10 grand aside for rental and have
Right.
um
10 to 12 months if you can get your loan for 10 to 12 months of whatever your lease is. This gives you time to build your business. You might not need all of that money, but if you're going to get a loan to get into this industry, get a loan for an amount that's going to cover you and keep you comfortable. If you don't need it, it's easy to pay it back. All you do is just pay it back. You know, there's not normally penalties in paying them back. So I would think that the startup is going to be between, depending on how much your lease is, depending on the area that you're in, it's going to be 30 to 50 thousand dollars. You know, it really is. I would say if you do 10,000 for and it's going to be at least $30,000 that you're going to want to have to cover you. That doesn't mean you're going to use $30,000. That just means that if I have a slow month and I'm not making any money because people don't know about me yet, we're just building, but I still got to pay the landlord, there's the money there. It's operating capital. It's operating capital. There's things that you need, like in the rental business, you got to have a software to keep track of your rentals, to keep track of when they're going out, when they're coming back. You need a scheduling software I mean, you've got to advertise. To have your Google listings. You have to have, well, you don't have to, but it's advisable to have like an event detective and a peer space listing. These are the things that people look for in the area. Some people might say list on Knot or Wedding Wire. I personally did not do that, but that could help. That drives traffic to you. But those things have to be paid for. You got to have a bookkeeper, unless you're great at keeping books. I personally am not, as you can see. So I mean, I can do it, but I don't like to do it. It's not my thing. So I want to know that what I'm paying in sales and use taxes when it's time to pay those every 3 months, that is
Mhm.
accurate. I want to make sure that I don't end up, owing money later on that I don't have the money to pay. So you have to have money set aside for all of those things. It's not just opening the business, it is operating the business. But this is what makes it sustainable. And I promise you, once you learn it, it becomes muscle memory and you won't have a problem and you'll always be in a good space. So if you know you're not going to keep up with those things, just hire you a bookkeeper. All of that stuff is tax deductible.
Mhm.
You can write it off. It's professional services and it's necessary for operating your business. So if you're great with QuickBooks, you still got to pay them at least 55 a month.
Exactly. Exactly. And Phil is asking also, how long do you think it will take to recover the 12 months rent plus the startup cost?
If you're in a popping area, Phil, you could do it in 6 months, depending on how many events you're booking, what you're able to charge in the area that you're in. But if you're in a smaller area that may be moving a little slower, you may be looking up to a year and a half before you get all of that money back. My goal was to have everything back the first year. Well, guess what? It didn't happen for us. And you know why it didn't happen? Because we got delayed opening 3 or 4 months.
Yes.
Yeah, it was a setback. So you think, if I wouldn't have had the personal funds to cover that, that could have been the end of the business right there. So know what
Right.
you're getting into and have it set aside ahead of time so that you're at least comfortable. And that way you have time to build because you are going to need that time. For the community to get to know you're there, what you're offering. You 1 or 2 great events in that space. You have social proof, you have photographs. They will begin to come looking for you.
Mhm.
So it is I don't want to like deter anybody. It's a phenomenal, phenomenal business to be in because it does not require the effort that we have to put out as event designers, going into another space, hauling all of the things on your hands and knees, like the building. That's your baby. That is your that's going to generate profit for you. And like I said, you just got to remember that you're selling time and space. It could be a photographer that just wants to do a shoot there. You have that time and that space on a weekday. It could be lunch and learn. There's so many things that can happen in a venue, so you're not as limited.
Yeah,
Hmm.
and if you're willing to think out the box like that, yeah, that could.
Yeah.
speed up that timeline drastically, right? And one thing before I forget, I remember you're saying put aside 10 grand for rental, and I know you have the event rental business as well with the beautiful chairs and table, gorgeous
Mhm.
stainless steel stuff. Did that 10 grand include furniture?
Oh, no, ma'am. That was for renovations to the
Okay.
renovations to the building to make it what I want. Now you can do it for cheaper. I know that you can if you keep in mind that it is not your home, but our bathrooms needed some serious updating. Our kitchen needed some serious updating. But if you find a space that doesn't need that, perhaps you can get by with 5,000. Maybe you just paint everything and give it a beautiful look. Maybe your floors are already done. You change out a few chandeliers. So this is my personal experience, and I want everybody to keep it in mind. Please don't get deterred. Um, do the research, find a space, and know what you'll need to put into it. But no, my inventory, that was completely different. I already had the inventory and I'd already spent the money on that. And I still wouldn't change a thing about it. Let me tell you why. Because the inventory was sitting here
Mm,
and it's being rented there. It's generating a profit. It was sitting here for my personal use. And I had just amassed so much stuff.
okay.
I needed to be making some money with it, and so that's what I'm doing now. So keep in mind, you don't have to have everything I have for a venue. You don't. If you have an open vendor policy, it can happen two ways. They can rent things and bring them in, and you just rent your building. Okay,
Mhm.
from other companies if they have them in the area that you're operating in, so that can happen. Or you can just have standard things that you offer. You have a house chair.
Mhm.
Have it whatever your capacity is, that number. So if your capacity is 75, get you 85 because a few are going to break. You know, have your standard round tables, the ones I wouldn't get the wooden ones because you're gonna roll them in and out, and they are heavy. So those newer plastic ones that are really sturdy, places like Uline have them. You can
Yeah,
get those
they do.
tables and have however many for your capacity. Get your standard house chairs, classic polyester linens, enough white and enough black. Those are the options that we offer. And you're in business with a venue. You don't need all the luxury stuff. And if you want to add it, let your profits add that. Get your
Mm,
business off the ground. Get the rentals coming in. Get it going well. And once you begin to generate a profit, I always say have four accounts. Have one account for all of your money that's coming into your business. This is how I keep track of things, okay? You have a second account, and I made myself a note, honey. I'm gonna look, I want to make sure. I have one that's coming in. Then there's the bills account, okay? So everything that has to go out in a month, money gets transferred to that account. So I'll know this is the bill money. Then there's the tax account because whatever you're collecting in state taxes, federal taxes, or whatever the case, you want to set that aside. It's easy to get it all confused. And then when it's time to pay the piper, you don't have it. Okay. And then the last one is your inventory and your upkeep and upgrades. Those
mhm.
things, so divide it out in percentages. Determine how that's going to work for you. How much percentage do you need of everything that comes in? Chop it up in those accounts, and I promise you, you will be fine. And you will thank me for that tip later because I wish I had had it a little bit earlier in.
That really is a great tip. I love that. I absolutely love that tip. And so, for somebody who is like, okay, I want to be one of those all inclusive venues where they come and all the pretty things are already there, they don't have to bring in anything like
Mhm.
furniture wise, how much more would you add on top of the 10 grand to get the stainless steel, the glass tables, the beautifulness? I know you collected them over years. So, do you have a number?
Well, over the course of probably about a year and a half, because I move containers, so I bring my own stuff in. Yeah, so for me, that's pretty easy. That's a matter of negotiating what it is that I want. I will tell you this: I probably spent on inventory, and I have some things that I do not need, but
Mhm.
I probably spent. at least 75, 80 grand on inventory, likely more. Um,
Wow.
but like I said, I have varieties of things. You might need one or two styles of gold chairs, whereas I like stuff. So this was just me getting things for me. I probably have seven different styles of gold chairs. And then I decided, well, now you have to have some silver. And then now, of course, you have to have black. All of the things. And oh, when the new chair comes out, oh, I got to have that. And because I was bringing event furnishings in for other people, I was just adding on stuff for me. I would see it and I would want it. And I think it's good to start with some staples. And yeah, you can have run a very successful venue with all of the pretty things by having maybe four different styles of tables, maybe 4 to 5 different styles of chairs, and be very successful. I also have china, chargers, flatware, glassware, all of that, sofas, all of the bar backs, bars, all of that stuff. And you know what? In my venue, I don't even need all those things. But a good for a rental business is a good source of revenue for me because that side can support the venue and the venue can
Exactly.
support that side. So it balances out.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I was not expecting that much, but I got you.
Well, you don't need that much. That's what I spent. But I think probably if you bring in a 20-foot container, you can probably have everything you need for maybe $30,000. There it is.
All right. And one last question, and then we are going to let you go. But I know this is a huge thing on both the vendor side, um, as opposed to the venue side.
Hmm.
How do you get, or what is a good strategy to get on the preferred vendor list? And do you have a preferred vendor list, and how do you determine who you let on there?
I do have a preferred vendor list. And what I did was sit down and well, I had relationships with some folks in that area, vendors that I've dealt with off and on because I've done events in that. And so what I did was I assessed how they moved, how they did things from working with them. And if I liked it, then they were one of the first people that I went to say, "Hey, you're a great photographer. Would love to offer your services to clients that come in to rent our venue and say, hey, we need a great photographer, this is a guy, or we can include a package, which would you prefer?" And oddly, a lot of them said, "Hey, I charge XYZ for my services. So if you can roll that into a package that you're going to offer them, you can just always pay me because they know they're going to get their money and we'll just come and do an hour and a half or 2 hours of photography work. This is what's included. And if they want to add on or extend, then it goes higher than that." And so it was people that I knew because it's important. You got to remember when you put your stamp of approval on somebody and they don't do what they're supposed to do, you're all wrapped up and tied up and tangled up in that, and it makes you look bad as well. It's a problem for you. So when you put somebody on your preferred vendor list, please ensure that they can deliver the service. And the way I found everybody that's on my list, I worked with them. Now, it's not always possible to work with them, but it is possible to vet them. Say you have a caterer. Okay, bring me something. Let me see your presentation. Let me
Okay.
taste the food self. Let's do that. Oh, you have a cake business? Okay, bake us something. Let us see. Give me something. Even if it's just a dummy cake that you have to decorate and I need to see how it's going to look. But I wouldn't suggest that. I would suggest tasting the cake as well because you might be get a oops pie surprise sometimes when you refer somebody. Right on down to the people that clean the building. I worked with a couple of different people to see. I wanted to know that the person matched what it is that I wanted for the space. And that's how I chose the preferred vendors list. I had balloon artists show me work that you've done, but people can show you anything. You need them to
It's
build
true.
something. you. And if they really want to work with you, they will do that. But you better either have worked with them, seen them operating at somebody else's event, or have them come in and build something for you personally so you know that they can provide the service that you're telling your clients that they can.
Absolutely. So I like that. I like that a lot. That you need to experience them in some way, even if it's them coming to volunteer. Oh, let me do a style shoot as a photographer, or
Right,
send you some samples, bring you some samples. So I love
right.
that. That's great. Is there anything that we missed that you're like, okay, if you're opening a venue, I didn't know this, and y'all absolutely need to know this before we let you go? Anything you can think of that people
Mm.
should know if they're thinking, oh, I'm going to open a wedding venue?
Reach out. No, not reach out. Research, okay, is what I'm trying to say. What your niche will be. In other words, what would your venue be needed for? And this is what I mean by that. I do a mix of things, but to be honest with you, I probably do more baby showers
Mm.
and bridal showers than I do micro weddings. It's a good mix of both. Do you see what I'm saying? And to find that out, you have to do some market research. This is after you begin to get your venue going. This is at the very beginning stages because you've already determined you want this venue. This is the life for you. You're going to do it, right? But figure out what you're going to be using it most for. And the way you do that, and this helps your SEO and gets you get your Google page together, your Google, the Google listing, but you get a service like Eventective. Eventective was the reason for my SEO ratings the first 2, 3, 4 months in business. Why? Because they're pushing you because they want to prove themselves to you so that you will keep their service. But what I did, per the advice of my venue consultant who gave me valuable nuggets, I looked at the bookings that were coming in, the inquiries that were coming in. What are they wanting most of all? Now, I can tailor services for those things. You see what I'm saying? So I know that most people want baby showers. Guess what I have? I have beautiful packages for baby showers and bridal showers. You can
Mhm.
get just space, but I want to entice you. And then one person saw this person's baby shower. Oh my God, the space is beautiful. And other vendors came in and made it beautiful. I didn't have to do that work. But I got rights to the photographs. That's in
Mhm.
my have you a good contract for your building too and things. Okay. I'm a chatter, Marcia. But I figured out that a lot of people would be using this for baby showers, dinner parties, and bridal showers. So I tailored those packages and they have been a hit. The second thing is have a service. When you have people excited about your space, please do not be one of those people that says, I have to print the contract and I'm going to email it to you and you sign it, then you send
Yes.
it back to me and I'm signing it. We're faxing and we're doing all of these things. Use something like rock paper coin. I'm only saying this, I'm not advertising for them, but it's easy for me. If you have a CRM that you use, but have
Mhm.
something where that person can sign that contract, get it back to you, and you can send an invoice and they can begin to pay while they are excited about your
Exactly.
space. If you give them time to change, it's going to be difficult. They'll change their minds, is what I'm saying. It'll become a little bit more difficult. So, those are the two things that I would say. Have those things in place. Have at least systems enough that you can run smoothly and your process be optimized. And definitely do the research at the beginning to find out what people want most from your venue because we gotta stop giving people what we want and give them what they are asking for.
Mhm.
Then they'll rent your space.
I love it. I so enjoyed this. Red Carpet Events Planning is saying you have got to come back and talk about venue contracts. Contracts. We might need to get a
I
event
would,
attorney on for that one.
You definitely do, but there are some standard things that I could probably tell you that you need to have in, but per state, it's a little bit different. I'd be happy to come back and talk to you about anything, though. It's always a pleasure sitting with you, Marcia.
Yes, I love it, love it, love it. So you have me fired up again about okay, venue, 5 year plan, 5 year plan.
You gotta get it. You gotta get it. And you're in a perfect area to have something phenomenal. And I could just see it. It's gonna match your elegant taste. And I would love,
Thank
love,
you.
love to be on the guest list when you have that grand opening.
Yes, and that's the other thing too. We could come back and talk about the workout, the opening, like strategies, because I think that probably is what's going to answer Phil's question in that how do you get this money back sooner than later? I think it really is the groundwork you do before you even open the
It is.
doors.
It is definitely, and have some specials. If you book, if you know you're going to be able to open and not be like me, get pushed back. Have some specials. Oh, if you book our venue, yada yada yada, and make friends with other venues. They're not going to be able to take every booking that they get. Pass them back and forth. Send them your overflow. Have them send you their overflow. Have some booking specials. We're open in the month of June. For the first XYZ amount of people, you get $100 off or $250 off or whatever the case. And then be innovative in what you do. We're doing something now, and I know we have to go, but we're doing a series of day parties. Okay, day parties. These are put on by myself, okay? And we are bringing in different chefs in the area to that specialize in different types of cuisine. So we're having tastings of, I don't know, maybe 5, 6 courses, okay? And but they're small. And we have a mixologist that's going to do specialty drinks. You can't
Mm.
I can't sell alcohol, but we can serve it. You understand? So if we have a ticket price for them to come in and enjoy this, and then we have a DJ and everything is themed. So if we're doing New Orleans, if we're going to do Cajun cuisine, we might have this type of music. Or if we're going to do like speakeasy, we have this chef coming in, or we may have a battle of two DJs. But listen, my venue is a tiny venue; it's boutique, so we're calling it the Tiny Day Party Series. And so it's
Good
only
idea.
tickets. That's all I'm selling, and
Hmm.
that's giving them that brings people in. It gets fresh eyes on it. It's different. And then if you're giving something that there's a limited amount of, people will go ahead and book, and that's another thing that has added revenue to our venue.
Yes, these are all wonderful, wonderful ideas. We definitely do have to have you back so you could talk about all of these things for the people wanting to start venues.
Okay, well, thank you guys for listening to me, because I know I'm a talker and I can chat, 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 chat. But I wanted to make sure that I gave you something that would encourage you and help you to avoid some of the pitfalls that I unfortunately stepped into when I was starting this.
Amazing. Thank you so much. And thank you, everyone, for joining us for another beautiful episode of Wedding Wednesdays on the Black Owned Elite podcast. Our mission is to empower Black entrepreneurs and celebrate the richness of Black history. If you want to check out Lorna and other wonderful Black entrepreneurs, visit our website at blackowned.elite.com. And if you know any elite Black owned businesses, meaning you have your stuff together, and we do vet, just like Lorna was saying, she's vetting all these people she's allowing. Because if we put our stamp of approval on you, we have to know the customer service is there. People are not going to be complaining and saying, oh, that's why I don't deal with Black owned businesses. We are featuring elite Black owned businesses. So if you think you have an elite Black owned business or you know some excellent Black owned businesses, go over there, submit them so we can feature them and become the go to source for anything you want in your surrounding area that is Black owned. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we will see you next Wednesday. Our next podcast, however, is with Tawanda, and she's going to be talking about corporate events, like how do you throw a gala, how do you throw a fundraiser, and that is actually on Mondays. And Mondays we have general entrepreneurs on, and on Wednesdays it's focused solely on weddings. So like and subscribe, and we will see you next time. Thanks again, Lorna.
Bye bye and thank you.
Bye. Thank you.